making it easier for ex-offenders to find job opportunities with the city. Plans for a clinic on the site of the new Milwaukee Bucks practice facility, and the community comes together to foster public safety. This is Council Rewind, and I'm Dustin Weiss. It's hard enough to get a job without the stigma of a criminal record, and yet employment is one of the surest ways to keep ex-offenders out of trouble. So groups nationwide, and right here in Milwaukee, have been pushing for so-called ban the box legislation, where employers would no longer require applicants to check a box if they have a criminal history. Now, for people applying to work with the city of Milwaukee, it's actually been several years since the city did away with that practice. But on October 5th, the Finance and Personnel Committee considered legislation that would enshrine the city's new practice as a permanent law.
I'm really excited to be able to bring this legislation forth. This is something that has been happening across the country. This is something that the president has discussed about banning the box, and how if a person serves their time and they come out and they try to do the right thing, it is behooving to us to be able to help them and reduce the recidivism rate, because if you can't get a job, what are you going to do? You're going to result in doing the same things that helped you go back and go in the first place. So I think that the city, as the largest employer, should take the lead on this, and this is something that we have definitely done, and I want to see this continue and expand. And so here is step one.
This has been a policy for how long now?
It's, I think, if I remember correctly, the City Service Commission, and that is the board that by statute is dealing with all employment matters, including the applications, the screening, the recruitment, the testing, all of those things. The commission back in 2012 made a decision that they were not going to disqualify people for not disclosing information regarding arrest and conviction record. Once that decision was made, it didn't make any sense to provide or require the candidates to actually disclose that information, because that at that point in the process, we were not looking at that as a test of honesty or integrity, because there were a lot of people who didn't understand what kind of citations or what kind of convictions we were looking at. So at that point, back in September of 2012, the city stopped asking for the information. So it's been about 4 years.
That's what I thought. Okay, and then the other issue is this resolution calls for expanding it to other departments, so I assume this does not pertain to the police department.
No, 6250 basically dictates the hiring processes for the fire and police department, and there have very specific statutory provisions that deal with who can apply and who can be hired as a police officer, for example. I think the substitution basically acknowledges the fact that the city has been doing it for some time and requires the city to continue to do it and encourage other employers in the community to do the same. That's what the sub does.
Hey, have you seen the difference since you instituted this?
Yes,
you have?
Absolutely.
Like how big of a difference?
I'm going to call Kristen to the table because she was the one who did all the research, but you know.
Don't have to be technical, just like a number. How many more people are getting employed or getting more opportunity based off this ban the box?
Actually, I don't remember the last time we actually had somebody file an appeal because they were disqualified from a process. We used to have 4 to 5 cases every commission meeting.
Really?
So, you know, what we were finding was that people, because either they didn't understand the system or didn't realize that a DNR citation was actually a conviction, that they would forget to put that on the application. And when we would do the background check, we would find, you know, violations that were in fact convictions that they didn't disclose because they didn't know any better. And we were finding that the city was disqualifying people for what I would consider irrelevant reasons. And that's why the conversation happened. And we're thinking that is not what we're looking for. So actually, maybe one in the last couple of years.
Okay.
0.3% of our overall applications that we've received in the last 18 months have been rejected for having a substantially related, that's the legal standard in the state of Wisconsin, conviction record. And I'd also like to add that for our general city employees, they have a right to an appeal before the City Service Commission if they are rejected on that basis, and so that's another double check for our process.
Well, that's wonderful. I just want to say thank you and appreciate that. I didn't know it was being implemented to that degree, so that's wonderful, Maria. Thank you.
Prior to 2012, what was the percentage?
Yeah.
It was a big number and the only reason I know that is because when people were disqualified, they get a letter basically saying you can appeal that decision, you can go in front of the board, and ultimately the board had the opportunity to say in or out. Again, every commission meeting, and we had 2 or 3 commission meetings a month, had 4, 5, 6 of those cases. And right now, I can go back a year and a half, and we don't have any.
Could this be implemented under the Fire and Police Commission?
Really, that's a question for the Fire and Police Commission. For example, the statutes say that somebody who's convicted of a domestic violence type of violation is not able to carry a weapon. So, you have to ask for that information on the get-go because you're going to process individuals who technically by law are not able to compete or apply or be hired. So it really is a question for the Fire and Police Commission.
Okay. All right. Well, Alderwoman Lewis, good job. Alderman Hamilton, Cogs, and Perez for initiating this, and Alderwoman Lewis for codifying and making sure it's an ordinance. I do want to commend and say congratulations, and I think this is a well-worthy piece of ordinance, and I will be supporting this, and it's about opportunity and getting more people employed. Thank you very much.
So, annually about 8,600 ex-offenders are released in the state of Wisconsin, and about 3,600 of them are released back to Milwaukee County. And we know and recognize that a part of eliminating recidivism, their return to prison or jail, is them being able to have access to family supporting jobs. And city jobs are just that, family supporting jobs. I want to thank you, Maria, for your leadership, having already instituted it. In 2012, when Alderman Hamilton and I came to you initially with the ban the box stuff, actually you kind of surprised me in that meeting when you said, "Oh, we can do that administratively. Give me a couple weeks and we'll have it done."
Oh yeah.
So I just want to thank you for doing that, and I also want to thank all of the organizations, agencies, and individuals who have been carrying the banner of this issue to create opportunity where there has been extreme difficulty for so many members of our community. I know back in 2012 when we began the fight, it was MICA, Table of Saints, New Hope Project, and the National Hire Network, and I know now there's 9 to 5 and Legal Action and several others who have joined the fight for Ban the Box. So I thank them for continuously keeping this as an issue and for encouraging us to codify it and bringing it this far. And it is my sincere hope that other employers will also see the writing on the wall and the leadership of the city and begin to do the same. As we begin to talk about the systematic and institutional change that must happen in this city, some of it is some simple things that people could do to open up opportunity. And I think eliminating that box is just one of those simple things. So that can help change conditions out here in our community. So hopefully people will see this as the example that it is and do the same. And hopefully people will take advantage.
The proposal to ban the box for all civilian city job applicants passed the full council on a 13-2 vote. As work is underway to transform the abandoned Park East corridor into a new Milwaukee Bucks arena and other accoutrements, the bigger picture of the project's potential impact on the area is starting to take shape. Team officials have promised the arena will drive other development, and the announcement of a Froedtert and Medical College of Wisconsin clinic adjacent to the team's new practice facility would seem to be a step in that direction. On October 4th, plans for that clinic went before the Zoning, Neighborhoods, and Development Committee.
This building has been considered, a gateway to the city, and as you see in this rendering here, as you'll understand later in this, there's no real backside to this building, so we're developing this building. This view is an approach as you enter the city on McKinley Avenue. The site was described as a pork chop site. I'm sorry.
If you could just go back to that one.
Absolutely.
Is that the actual? That's a little bit of a bird's eye view, right? That wouldn't be the actual view of a car.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a bird's eye
view. Do you have
view.
a view of that, of how it would actually look like?
Not in this presentation, I don't think so.
I would like to see that at some point.
Okay.
Because that'll probably be more favorable than this one, because the parking will be hidden, I assume, or because of the wall and the trees?
Yes, because the retaining wall that comes along there for the parking, your perspective, it will be cut off, so.
Please proceed. Thank you.
The site, as was described, McKinley on the north, Juneau on the south. 6th Street on the east, shaped, a very difficult shape to the site. In this image here, the yellow building is the building that we're talking about today. The white building south of it is the training facility. And then you can see the parking on the back side. So the building in front's the city and the streets, and the parking is behind. One of the challenging things with the grade differential on this site is on 6th Street, we do have a ground floor entrance on that street. And that would be accessed by the public, people arriving by public transportation or parking in the new parking garage across the street. On the west side of the building, we also have an entry, and that's one level up, and that's for people who park in the parking lot behind the building to the west. The site plan here shows the scope of work for this particular project. The building on the east and tie-ins on McKinley for utility, and then an expansion to the parking. We have a total of 75 spaces, which is currently what this site is zoned for. This is your photometric plan. So on the east and west elevations of the building, just above the first floor, we have an eyebrow feature with recessed lighting in that. So that lighting will light the sidewalks on either side of the building at night. Here's an image, an aerial view if you were on 6th and McKinley looking to the southwest. I think a couple of the notable things on this image is that the building does appear as one building. It's very consistent in its design vocabulary. It also, I think a notable feature for this building is its commitment to photovoltaic arrays. You can see on the rooftops where we have designed photovoltaic arrays to be incorporated into the building.
Well, this corner has a lot of windows, okay. The one we're facing now, but then if you go, so this is the north.
This is
southwest.
This would be the northeast corner of the development.
Of the lot. So I'm talking about the southeast corner then.
The southeast corner is
the lower level had a very different window pattern. I wondered why that was.
So that punched openings along there. In the training facility, there's different functions which occur in there which do not promote a large expanse of glass. It's more of a little bit of a privacy issue for the players' environments that are in there. So we did want to bring daylight into the building, but we did have to control it a little bit more.
That's their locker room area or a private
It's
area?
not the locker room area, but they are personal spaces for the players.
Okay.
We do bring that aesthetic into the north elevation as well, so it begins to tie the whole building together. Also in areas where we don't want to have larger expanses of glass, as you can see on the north elevation in the upper image. I think in the upper right-hand corner, some of the things to note is the diagram from the GPD showing out low, medium, and high activation for the facades. So the northeast corner was called out as medium activation, but the whole east elevation was actually called out to be a low activation, and we're actually making it high activation, so that whole first floor we're making glass. As we go to the north elevation, we do maintain the medium activation, and you can see the punched openings in the lower portion, which relate to the training facility punched openings and begin to tie that aesthetic together. The upper portion is a very large expanse of glass, and that facade is actually at a little angle which follows McKinley. So when you do come down McKinley, you're going to get a glimpse of that facade, and the light will catch it differently.
What's the operation for access? Is it to the entire community, to the Bucks players, to a membership type base, or what type of access will this building have?
And if you'd be so kind first to introduce yourself for a record and then answer.
Dr. Mark Lotus, Freighter in the Medical College of Wisconsin.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. This facility will have full access to the community. The community will have full access to the program within this facility. We're just really delighted with the partnership that we've developed with the Milwaukee Bucks. They've been a great partner in this. That partnership really revolves around three fundamental items that we really feel are integral to healthy communities. And that is education, it's job training and employment, and it's health and wellness of the communities we serve. And we're committed to all three of those. And this health center is just one way that we're going to engage in executing on some of that mission and some of that through the partnership. This will certainly create jobs. It's certainly going to improve the health and wellness of the communities we serve through providing access to care.
For this facility right now, we've not finished all our program planning, but we're estimating about 75 employees working out of this facility.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Alderman Cox.
will those be new positions or employees transferred from other locations?
So that's a really good question. What we typically will do, I mean, they'll be net new to our organization, but we will often offer opportunities for individuals to transfer if they would like to do that. But they're net new to our total organization.
Additionally, I know you said you were working on programming. I would, once you're further along, like to sit down with you to talk about what that programming looks
Sure.
like and how it does complement the other community health clinics that are in the area.
Yeah.
We
Generally,
welcome
we're looking at a component that we would have primary care. We certainly will have an orthopedics component there, the rehabilitation services that would go along with that. We're looking at, we call it a same-day access clinic that you can get walk-in care if that's something that you'd be looking for. The specialty services within that, we're still doing some work on that.
The plan passed the full council on a unanimous vote. In a year that's seen unprecedented violence and a weekend of unrest near Sherman Park, city leaders have redoubled their efforts to find solutions to the city's public safety needs. In a series of special meetings throughout the summer, the council's Public Safety Committee called in officials from all levels and sectors of government, trying to find areas where intergovernmental cooperation and solutions were possible. Now, as the committee drafts its recommended plan of action, it's seeking input from regular Milwaukeeans in a series of special hearings throughout the month of October, the first of which was held October 3rd.
And let me begin, folks, by simply saying this. I'm certain I speak for the overwhelming majority of Milwaukeeans when I say that none of us are satisfied with the level of safety in Milwaukee. And with that in mind, if you all recall, back in June, President Hamilton announced that through the Common Council, we would be proposing a series of action plans to address a variety of challenges impacting Milwaukee. I, through the Public Safety Committee, was charged by Alderman Hamilton to analyze and review policing and the criminal justice system as it currently exists here in Milwaukee, and make recommendations to improve upon that system. Today, this effort continues with the first in a series of meetings involving the community. Today's meeting involves community-based organizations. We wanted to give them a special opportunity to address the committee as to their take on safety in Milwaukee, the criminal justice system, policing, and hear any recommendations that they may have.
I heard someone say the other day that the purpose of the police is to protect and serve, but their purpose in our community seems to be law and order. That rang so true to me because of what I have seen and experienced personally. Adding police will not change what is wrong with the department at its core. There's a separation along race and class lines that makes it difficult for such a divide to heal. While we are told by police to trust them and tell them something that could get us killed, they have their blue wall of silence when one of their own does something wrong. Police are the only profession I can think of that uses the need for more training as an excuse for questionable behavior. I'm a nurse. If my negligence led to someone dying, I would lose my license and probably go to jail. The issue is not training in the classroom, it is the on-the-job culture that's the problem. This attitude has been in place against the poor and people of color and has not changed. We don't need more of that.
There's been a study that states that the use of body cameras, when officers do not have the ability to turn them off and on at their discretion, improves their policing professionalism and improves how citizens interact with individual police officers once they are encountered by them. So I think that that's a policy that our Police and Fire Commission could implement.
So what about changing police strategy, which is the only thing current research suggests will curb crime? On that note, we applaud MPD for the first class of 14 community service officers who were graduated from a 5-week training course at the police academy. They are an unarmed auxiliary of MPD that will help those armed officers deployed to low-priority causes like theft, traffic accidents, and vandalism. I would imagine that some of the community service officers will be equipped with pocket-sized community resource guides to direct those in distress to pertinent community-based services.
Beyond the Bell was created in response to a 2013 survey in which 98% of youth-serving agency respondents and 62% of funders supported creating a citywide intermediary that would serve to coordinate resources, build capacity to deliver high-quality youth programs, and increase investment in young people. That said, our network believes that we need to change our definition of public safety, as it is reflected in this plan and as it is reflected in the city budget. We need to change our definition to include investment in youth on the front end to prevent interaction with police in the first place. Early investment, particularly in quality after-school opportunities, yields a tremendous return on investment for young people. And when I say after-school programs, I'm talking about mentoring, arts programs, leadership development, sports and recreation, essentially anything where there is a safe space where trained youth workers are creating a space for young people to learn and grow and make mistakes without suffering extreme consequences. And in fact, research shows these programs improve academic achievement, increase social emotional skills such as empathy, problem solving, and self-control. Quality programs have also been shown to reduce risk behavior. National surveys have found that teens who did not participate in quality out-of-school time programs were nearly 3 times more likely to skip class than teens who did participate. They were also 3 times more likely to use marijuana or other drugs, more likely to drink alcohol, smoke cigarettes, and engage in high-risk sexual activity than their peers who were involved in something constructive after school.
I was not born here. I was raised here for 3 months up until now. And we had beat officers that walked the beat. You know, it wasn't about the baseball cards. It was about the relationships that they had with the neighbors and the children. I think we need to get back to that. We need to get back to that. I think that will reduce the fear that a lot of our elderly have and a lot of our young people have. We had a situation with the liquor store, and just coming back and forth to these kind of hearings with this liquor store, it wasn't even the liquor store's fault. It was a lot of just the activities that were happening around the liquor store. If we had beat officers, that wouldn't happen. The owner of the liquor store would call for the police to come. They'd never show up. They'd never show up. So now the people that are causing the problem think they have the control, which they actually do. That neighborhood is so fearful. It's not about, I don't know, I hear, don't hire more police, let them do what they're supposed to do, and they are here to serve and protect. I would be very fearful not to have police officers in my community or anywhere. What's going on today is a fear factor.
We need to have a department that represents this city. I hear from, most of the complaints I hear from people is, where are the black police officers? We don't, you see a lot of times officers patrolling in the inner city part there. You see 4 or 5 officers walking together, and majority of the time, they're all white. And a lot of these officers, they're not friendly. They're just walking, they're not talking to anyone. They are saying things to people. The morale, I mean, this city is already in fearful of police officers. And a lot of the time, these officers are saying things to people that are making people even more fearful of the police department. They won't talk to the police officers because I've had people tell me that they tell officers about things that's going on, but then the officer turn around and tell the people who called and who said things. So people they're not talking to they're not telling the police officers anything.
There are some things that are in place that they are trying to do for the police department, giving them training. But when they're on the street, are they practicing what they're being taught? When I talk to young people, they say that police come up and just totally disrespect them. If they ask them their name, I'm taking care of this, they just talk down to them. You can't do that. But I notice that the younger police that are on the force, they're more conversational. They tend to express, they come up letting you know why I'm talking to you, the reason why, and giving them whatever other information is needed. You have to know how to address people. And then the next thing, like Octavia, she's from the Amani neighborhood that just spoke to you. We have older residents that are fearful. They're scared to come out of their house. They're selling drugs, and you know what they're telling? Well, the police not coming, so, I have all the time in the world. That's not the image that we want to do. But these programs that have been mentioned, more police is not the answer. I don't want to live in a Gestapo state, and I don't want to be around someone spreading their, I'm the big chief in charge, and you better talk to me or listen to me, like all of a sudden my rights are gone as a human being.
When we have a crime in that neighborhood, residents contact the organization. I got out my bed the following day, went to the block where the shooting was, got all kind of information because they trust me. So I called our 3rd District CPU to sit down and talk with them and share some information that I got. We're trying to reduce crime, work together. I still haven't gotten a phone call back today. I'm there for residents in the city of Milwaukee, but our police officers, I've seen and heard them talk to our residents very badly. And I believe that relationship is almost like teachers. Teachers need to be retrained to deal with our children with bipolar, with the mental illness, and how to talk to them. Same thing with our police officers. If you don't know about this illness, if you don't know what the effect of this illness is, you don't know how you just treat a brother or sister like the norm. Where it's not the norm no more. We have a lot of sick people, a lot of hopeless people, and a lot of hurt people in our neighborhood, and we just need to treat them as human beings. I know myself, I say it, and I would probably never do it, but I said, the way they talk to even me, I had that experience. It wasn't on a job. I said to myself, if you take your guns off me and you could go at, that's the way they make you feel, like you nothing. And that's a big problem with our police community relationships. They need to learn how to talk to people. That's simple. Simple. If you talk to me with respect, maybe you'll get respect.
You can give your input through an online survey at milwaukee.gov/public safety survey or attend one of the hearings. And that's a look back at some of the important issues from the most recent Common Council cycle. For the City Channel and Council Rewind, I'm Dustin Weiss.